Welcome back to the LA Reads podcast. We're your hosts, Abby
and Leighton, and this is episode Book Chaos.
Absolutely.
We're
about to spill the bookish tea.
Yeah, we're officially abandoning the numbers. The numbers are dead.
The numbers are dead.
I couldn't get them right.
We're just going to introduce the episode, and I'm very excited for this episode, actually. It came into my brain the other day, and I was like, we should do it.
I'm excited because since we're going to be touching on a lot of controversial topics, I'm curious to know if even our opinions are the same, because there's a good chance that we're not having the same opinion.
This is probably true, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I'm very excited. But before we jump into this week's episode, we haven't seen each other in 2 weeks, so what have you read?
Oh my gosh. I'm speeding up a little bit again, which is good, but also is bad because it means I've abandoned writing, which is not the goal. Anyways, the first book I read this week, can we all take a minute? Play Along by Liz Tom Ford.
Oh, yeah, I saw this on your Instagram today.
Oh my gosh, 5 out of 5 stars. I do not rate books 5 stars lightly. 5 out of 5 stars.
Love.
Isaiah Rhodes is my new book boyfriend. Better than Ryan Shea. Probably one of my favorite book boyfriends of all time.
Really?
And this book had extreme, like, he falls first, extreme pining, groveling, whatever. That's not my cup of tea. I'm like but something about it was doing something correct.
I love that.
Absolutely incredible. And by the way, Isaiah is the shortstop on a professional baseball team.
Oh, yeah.
Why? You probably know this, because Drew played baseball.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
Why this whole time did I think the shortstop was the catcher?
No.
Shortstop apparently is between second and third base.
Actually, I don't think I knew where they were, but I knew they weren't the catcher. So
I knew shortstop was the position, and I knew catcher, but for some reason I thought they were the same thing. So that was a realization.
That's
but anyways,
funny.
And then I went into kind of a dark romance era type thing because I feel like I've been in a major reading slump. Like, I finish a book and I genuinely can't even tell you a trope, a genre, a whatever that I want to read. So I've been picking up obscure things.
Oh, no.
So I read a book called Hearts of Fortune by E. Wynn, as well as all 3 books in the Blackwood Institute series. All 4 of these are dark romance books.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is about these obscure dark romance books, but I read them. I swear I enjoy them. But the minute I close them, cannot recall a single thing that happened in them. So if I had to take a guess, 3 stars for all of them. Like, I don't remember.
They're just the most average books you've ever read.
Yeah, it's like, I am consuming it and I'm liking it, but like, I literally can't recall a single character name. I barely recall any plot points.
The moment you close the book, it's just gone.
Yes, except I did read one dark romance book that I thought was way better than the rest, and it's a dark academia book, which I have always said I wanted to dip my toes into because I feel like the aesthetic and the vibes call to me, but anytime I pick up a book, I'm like, wait, this is not my genre.
To me.
This is not my genre. But it's called Nocticadia.
Okay.
Which is a mouthful, and it took me so long to understand what that even was. But believe it or not, maybe I shouldn't admit this, and if you're a family member of mine, plug your ears, but it's a professor-student romance.
Oh!
So check your trigger warnings. Go in with knowing what you're going in for.
Okay.
But it was so good. It was all spooky and creepy vibes, and they're both scientists studying these parasites, and they fall in love. Anyways, I enjoyed it way too much, probably.
Well, maybe you've just found a new genre. Honestly, though, why is it kind of nice if you start to like a new genre or, like, subgenre, and you're like, wow, this just opened up, like, a whole, like, hundreds of new books to now read? Because sometimes I'm like, I have no more fantasy books to read. Or there's nothing else to read. So unlocking something is very nice sometimes.
Yeah, and I know, like, popular dark academia books are Deadly Education by Naomi Novik, and I read that one and I didn't like it.
Oh.
Or, like, the Atlas 6.
Oh, yeah.
Which I haven't read and things like that, but I always see it and I'm like, those vibes are immaculate. But anytime I try and pick it up, I'm like, no, I can't do it. So I was very happy with myself, but that's all I read. What'd you read?
Love. Okay, well, I was on vacation, so I tried to read quite a bit. I think last time I talked about this, but I actually did finish it this time. The Glass Sword, I finished listening to, and then I finally finished reading the first book in the Children of Blood and Bone series, and I was pleased with myself to learn that it was actually still very good. So
yeah, you're like, I have good taste.
Yeah. And then I read the second book, which was Children of Virtue and Vengeance, which, again, loved. And then, if you saw my TikTok, you would have seen that I tried to read Children of Anguish and Anarchy, which has been my most anticipated read of 2024 and just of life for the past 5 years, because the last time she came out with a book was literally in 2018.
Yes.
It was so bad. I DNF'd it at page 78.
Oh, that's so early. No.
Guys, I don't think you understand how devastated I was about this book. But it literally was so bad. Like, it literally, like, I could tell from the moment I started reading that she did not want to write that book. Like, I don't even understand how it was even published to begin with. The fact that her editor said, yeah, this is a great idea, let's continue on, is absolutely absurd.
Wait, what was it? Was it, like, pacing or
Well, it wasn't
writing?
even, it was just, like, completely different story. Like, genuinely, like, she, at the end of book 2, you see, sorry, spoiler warning, she, like, you see that she gets, like, kidnapped, like, and gets put on a boat, but you don't know where she's going or what's happening.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, and the third book starts with her on this boat, and it's basically just, like, introducing all new characters, this whole new country, like, it doesn't wrap up, like, anything that, like, any of the conflict that was happening in book 1 and 2. And the one thing that killed me, that made me put it down, was, like, one of the main reasons why I wanted to continue reading the book was because there was a love triangle by the end of book 2.
Yes.
And I really wanted to know who she was going to end up with. And then pick up the third book, and I'm like, where is one homie? Not
he's just
Enid, but, like, there's another guy that that's introduced in the second book that I love. And, yeah, he doesn't make an appearance in the third book. Her main love interest by the end of the second book doesn't exist in the third book. And I said, that tells me everything I need to know about the effort that was put into this book.
You're like, for that reason alone, I will not be reading
No,
this.
I will not be reading. So anyways, that was a huge disappointment. But then we picked it back up again, and I read The Graham Effect and The Dixon Rule.
I'm so excited for you.
Oh my gosh, they were so good. I haven't posted about them on my TikTok yet because I've been taking a couple of days off of filming, but The Graham Effect was 5 stars, so freaking good, and then The Dixon Rule was also really good, and I rated that 4 stars. So anyways, so
Wait,
good.
how do you feel? Because I've talked about this before, and, like, my favorite scene from The Graham Effect is when he shows up on her doorstep and knocks and is like, use me!
Out of context, when you mentioned that, I was imagining something way different in my head, so it was really funny. But that one got me because, I should have talked about this before we were filming because it spoils, but the reveal at the end, between them two at the hockey game when she gets injured and when they're in Vegas and all of that. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not sure if I remember 100% what it is.
It's the main plot!
Wait, 1 second, table it.
Hold on, one moment, turn off the mic! When that happens, I said, I've never seen this done in a romance book, but I am obsessed. I did not see that coming at all. Anyways, so I loved
my
story.
Gosh. Checking my mic's back on because, wait, that was so intense. I forgot about that. Incredible.
Absolutely incredible. Anyways, that's all. Okay, shall we jump into this week's episode because it's going to be a lengthy one. We got a lot to report on.
Yes, we do.
Let me explain what's going to happen is we are going to be discussing BookTok drama that has happened or announcements or anything that has happened in the past 6 months, 7 months, since January. Since 2024 has begun.
Year.
Yeah, this year. And there's a lot to digest. So where do you want to start?
Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. Maybe just start at the top of your list.
We're going to start with all things Rebecca Yarros and Fourth Wing. First off, at the beginning of the year, we got an announcement that Rebecca Yarros will be releasing the third book in the Imperium series, which is the Fourth Wing series, called Onyx Storm, and it will be released January 21st, 2025. Which was shocking to me because it has been consistently done that SJM, Sarah J. Maas, releases a book in January every year, and I would say that because Rebecca Yarros is releasing a book in January, that it knocked Sarah J. Maas out of being able to do that.
Which, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're definitely the one that has the more information about publishing schedules and things like that, but Sarah J. Maas announced that she was going to go to, like, a reduced publishing schedule and not be publishing every year.
Yes, that came later this year, like a month ago or 2 months ago. It was revealed through, like, a Bloomsbury meeting that she's going to be publishing every basically 2 years or year and a half, depending on, like, the year. And so that was kind of a bummer. But what is crazy to me is that it was confirmed, like, back in November that Sarah J. Maas was already working on the next ACOTAR book, like the next book that would be releasing in, like, her schedule. And Rebecca Yarros hadn't even started the
Onyx
third book
Storm,
yet.
yeah.
Like she's still in edits for Onyx Storm. She's been
I see
posting
her
about it.
post
Yeah.
about that.
Which I think is genius. First off, moral of the story: whoever is her publicist and in charge of her publicity stuff deserves a raise, because Rebecca Yarros also like a month ago released the cover of Onyx Storm, and like leading up to it, she like changed her profile picture like 3 times to like black and white and like different like chapters, which I never went back. I haven't deep dived into that yet, but like hyped everyone up just for a cover reveal, and I'm like, I've never seen this before.
Very
It's
Taylor
literally
Swift of her.
It's very Taylor Swift of her, but I think it's so good. Anyway, so yeah, that was. But yeah, I don't know. That's part of the book drama, is that Sarah J. Maas has yet to announce when her next book is going to be released, and we are more than halfway done with the year. So
yeah, when was the most recent book obviously was House of Flame and Shadow, and that was January of this year.
Yeah,
correct. So January of next year would be exactly 1 year. So you think she's gonna take?
I don't think
a
we're
year
gonna,
and a half.
Yeah, I don't think that we're gonna get a book. We'll either get a book end of next year or not even until January of 2026. Which would be
so far
tragic.
away.
But I could totally see that happening. Anyways, but yes, that was the drama. Any other topics on that?
No. The only thing I can think of is, not that I'm concerned for Onyx Storm, because I'm not. I have 100% faith in Rebecca Yarros that she's an incredible writer and she's going to do it. However, Iron Flame did not go the way that I thought it was going to go, and it ended up being a lower rated book for me.
True.
So I am saying all that, I am concerned.
I honestly am not concerned though, because Iron Flame was still good to me, and also I think that she recognized that it wasn't her best writing, and that's why she's taking longer to write Onyx Storm. Like I think
she's taking more time.
Like I think she probably put her foot down and was like, if you want a good book, you give me more time.
Well, because they made her extend Iron Flame.
Yes.
Correct? And I feel like that's where it lost it, because I was super invested at the beginning, and then it 100%. Just kind of went kind of crazy.
So I think it'll be good. I have full faith.
Yeah, I take it back. I mean, kind of concerned, but I do have faith.
If Onyx Storm doesn't live up to expectations after her like taking this long to publish it, then I'll be a little bit more concerned for the rest of the series. But I have faith.
And she's Red Towers.
Yes, Red Towers. Yes.
Okay.
That's why we get the sprayed edges, which will have the dragon stencils.
Absolutely foul that that Iron Flame doesn't have the dragon stencils, but
which is
also
so true.
Fourth Wing and Onyx Storm will.
I bet that they'll end up doing a special edition of Iron Flame, and it will have the dragon stencils.
They better. I mean, I don't know why I'm saying this, because I don't even have the Fourth Wing with the dragon stencils. I do,
and I would really much appreciate if I could get an Iron Flame with dragon stencils. Anyways, the last note, though, of Fourth Wing information is that literally, like, a couple days ago, the beginning of the year, or end of last year, it was announced that Fourth Wing was picked up to be a TV series, or a platform series, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then be made into a series, and like a couple days ago, they announced who the showrunner is going to be. Her name is Moira Wally Beckett. Never heard of her. Not that I would know her anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So then I did some more digging as to who she is. So she was the writer and executive producer for Breaking Bad, or one of the writers.
I love Breaking Bad.
Yeah, so she was a writer for Breaking Bad. And then I was like, this woman better have had some showrunning experience. And she was a showrunner for Anna with an E, which I've never watched.
I've never seen that.
But that was with Netflix.
Yeah.
And then, and I know that Anna with an E had a lot of good reviews and things like that. So there's that. And then there was another one, but I didn't write it down. So yeah. I'm a little bit nervous because, adaptations don't really do very well a lot of the times.
Arguably, I would say I can't even think of one off the top of my head that was so
Especially
good.
In the fantasy realm. Like, fantasy is really hard to get right.
I actually can think of quite a few that did not do super well. Like Shadowhunters.
Yeah.
Fail. Shadow and Bone, I thought season 1 was okay, but season 2 was not very good.
Yeah.
So...
yeah, I don't know. But the concerning part to me is that the production company that bought out the rights to Fourth Wing is Michael B. Jordan's Outlier Society company. Like that's like the company that bought out the rights.
Yeah.
And I was looking through the list of things that they've like produced so far, and the only thing that was recognizable by name was Creed 3. So that also makes me nervous, where I'm like, haven't really seen anything that like was like recognizable that they've done. So that's making me nervous. I'm not even nervous about the showrunner, more so just like the production company as a whole.
And they haven't said like which platform it's gonna be going to.
I don't think so. Why do I want to say Amazon? But that does not sound right. I don't know where it's going.
Okay, because in my head everything should be an HBO series because
True.
I feel like HBO just does it so well, and when it's like a Netflix series, there's some really great Netflix series.
I think Netflix does good at other things, just not fantasy.
Yeah, because like the closest thing to fantasy I would say is like Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
That's very, very good in my opinion, but I do get concerned when it is a Netflix series.
Very stressed. Anyways, so yeah, that's basically that's all the updates of Rebecca Yarros and Fourth Wing.
Wait, I have a quick question for you. Do you have any fan casts for people of Fourth Wing? I know like well, I'm gonna say her name and I'm gonna butcher it. Whatever. I think her name's like Freya Allen. No, that could be so wrong. But the girl who plays Ciri in The Witcher.
Oh yeah.
Is like everybody's fan cast for like Stabby FMC, like Selena.
I see her.
Blah,
yeah,
blah.
It's like I see her all the time for like Aelin fan cast.
But the new one that everybody's obsessed with is Hannah Dodd, which is the new Francesca in Bridgerton.
See, I love her, but I think she would be perfect as like Feyre.
Yeah, I've seen her as Feyre. I've seen her as Violet. I've seen her as Elaine. Like,
yeah, she kind of fits a lot of roles. I don't think she fits Violet though, because I think that Violet's supposed to be like super, super short. Honestly, I have no idea. I have like no specific fan cast for anyone.
I know. I've been saving a bunch of videos of people's fan casts, and I'm like, I need to really like think about this and come up with my own.
Yes.
But I don't know if I have anybody.
Though I do really hope that with the Fourth Wing stuff, I hope that they do an open casting call for something, because honestly, like, it originated on TikTok. Like, it would not be what it is without BookTok, I would say. Like, it blew up because of social media. Like, I would be really cool to see them do an open casting call, kind of how It Ends With Us did, for like some role, or just like find people that like aren't as popular, because I think you're gonna have a really hard time bringing in people that are really well known.
Well, I'm also curious to like which platform it goes to and what the budget looks like.
Yeah,
because I feel like a lot of times they don't have the budget.
That's
to
true.
get like big name actors.
Yeah.
So it's all like, I don't know if it's open casting or how they do that, but it's all like lesser named, accredited.
But I think a good example of like someone that's like lesser named characters that I think do really well is like Bridgerton. Like, I don't really feel like anyone knew who any of those actors were before Bridgerton.
Hannah Dodd.
Yeah,
she's
exactly.
Like popped off, and I didn't know her.
No, I didn't know who any of the people on Bridgerton were, but I think they were literally so great, and I hope that they do something like that.
Agreed.
Okay, what's your first news? Bookish tea.
The main thing that I looked into, because it was kind of a hot topic maybe a few weeks ago, is just there's been a whole lot of plagiarism claims thrown around, and I know you have a beginning to it.
Okay, I would say I'm taking this as the beginning because this was the beginning of me for it, as far as like what I saw first on TikTok. So the first thing I saw of plagiarism issues on BookTok the past like 2 months is the drama with the Crave series, which I've never read, but I know you have.
Yes, I have read the entire Crave series.
So basically, quick overview is that an author named Lynn Freeman is suing Entangled Publishing and an agent that I didn't write down the name for. That was really dumb of me. Anyways, is suing them because she is claiming that the Crave series they copied her, stole her story, and created the Crave series. So she basically, Lynn Freeman said that she was picked up for her book in 2013 in 2010 and edited it for 3 years, sending over every note, outline, and detail of her book. So like she was like editing this book for 3 years. It said that she sent over 45 drafts of this book.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So she was working on this book for forever, okay? For 3 years she was working on this book, and then it didn't work out and she got dropped.
And she was with Entangled
Publishing, which also, for those of you who don't know, Entangled Publishing is a massive romance publishing house. Like, most romance books fall under Entangled Publishing, and a lot of imprints and things like that. So most of the romance books that we read are all Entangled Publishing.
I don't think I knew that. I just called it Entanglement too. Is it Entangled?
Entangled Publishing, yes. Entangled Publishing. So like, for example, one of the imprints of Entangled Publishing is Bloom. which is huge for a lot of authors. Yeah. So, anyways, so Entangled Publishing is huge, and basically, Leighton Freeman book got dropped, and then basically, and then it was revealed later that Liz, the CEO of Entangled Publishing, named Liz, basically created the outline of the Crave series, like the basic like structure of it, or like what she wanted for it, and then hired Tracy Wolff to write it. So Tracy Wolff is a really popular author that does a lot of collaborations or writes a lot of different books for other people, and the Crave series was one of them.
Interesting.
And Liz, the CEO, in the lawsuit said that she does recall, she admits that she remembers Lynn Freeman's book coming across her desk and it being like viewed and things like that.
Oh, interesting. Because I was always under the impression, and I don't know where I got this information, so I could have made it up.
Yeah.
That the Crave started out as Twilight fan fiction.
I don't know how it started out, because I think that was also the first video that I watched didn't talk about that, but someone did mention that in another video where they were like, I thought it was this, and they were like, no, that's not what it really was. But I don't really know exactly the answer to that. But what was weird was that basically Lynn is like saying that the Crave series is like very similar to her book. And what was weird was that Tracy Wolff and Lynn had the same literary agent. So like they had the same literary agent that was going through these edits with Lynn, and then all of a sudden Tracy Wolff has this book that she publishes in 2020 that is very similar to Lynn Freeman's book. And yeah, so it just was like there was a lot of controversy behind it, and there's a full-on lawsuit. But a lot of people were saying, they were like, Lynn most likely won't win it because plagiarism is really hard to like actually like win,
improve.
And someone in a TikTok video was like, she most likely will lose a lawsuit due to the fact that she has to prove that they had access to her manuscript, and that that she has to prove that they used it to write the Crave series, which is going to be basically impossible to be able to prove. Yeah. So she will most likely lose. However, this then led to a video that I saw of Victoria Aveyard, who made this video that was basically like, hey, if you are going to claim that someone is plagiarizing a book, look at the publication dates, because if you say that the book that was released later is plagiarizing, or the book that was released earlier than another one was plagiarizing, you're going to look really stupid.
Yes, I saw that video.
Yes, and I thought that she was talking about the Crave series, because I had just barely seen that, and people in the comments too, I remember looking through, and they were like, guys, they're talking about the Crave series, and everyone was like, no, she's talking about Powerless. And apparently people were saying that Red Queen was plagiarizing Powerless, and she was like, basically Victoria came on and was like, you all are dumb. I wrote this book like 10 years ago.
Which, that has me absolutely just befuddled for half a second, because I looked up the actual publication dates, and Red Queen was published February 10th, 2015. Yeah. And Powerless was obviously published January 31st, 2023.
Yeah.
So I'm like, whoever was the person that was claiming that Red Queen plagiarized Powerless, like they're so far apart. At least if they were talking about Crave's a little bit older as well, so maybe you could get the dates mixed up.
Yeah.
But that's like 10 years.
Yeah, no.
Almost.
Anyways, but this led to a very large discussion on TikTok. I have participated in it. I made a video about plagiarism, whatever, but there's been a ton of controversy against the Powerless book because people are saying that it is plagiarizing Red Queen, and just plagiarizing is a really big topic in general. What did you have written down for this, though?
Okay, I personally don't even know where I stand on this topic because I see both sides of the argument. Yes. I think a lot of the points that people are making are very valid on both sides. Yeah. So I tried to find like the original post, and what I found when I was researching is there was this Reddit thread that I think sparked a lot of the controversy of this girl.
As it does.
Yeah, saying like, oh my gosh, they are so similar. Let me list the similarities for you. And a lot of the similarities, yes, crazy similar. A lot of them, not valid in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because, for example, I copied and pasted her like entire thing in here, but like one of them is like, oh, the FMC is a poor girl who thieves for a living. Like, to me, not valid, because literally that's every single series.
Yeah, I'm like, if you're talking about a girl living in the slums, I'm like, that's literally every single fantasy book.
Like, I was trying to list things off the top of my head, and I'm like, Okay, Throne of Glass, we have Selena. She's poor, and she's a skilled thief. In ACOTAR, we have Feyre. She comes from a poor background and has to do questionable things to survive. In Shadow and Bone, we have Alina. She's poor, and she also has to do questionable things to survive. In Six of Crows, we have Inej. In Ember and Ashes, we have Leah or Light,
Children
whatever.
in Blood and Bone, Defy the Night, The Prison Healer.
The Gilded Wolves, Dance of Thieves, Serpent and Dove. Like,
Renegades.
Yes.
Another one too.
All of these, I'm like, okay, not valid, because that's too broad of a thing.
Yeah.
And then she goes on to say, oh, she has a little sister that's a seamstress, which, granted, Adina's not an actual sister, but she's like
a
sister figure. And like immediately in my head, I'm like, I read the Cinder series from Cinder from the Lunar Chronicles, and she's Aiko, who's a sister figure who, whatever, is a seamstress as well. So I'm like,
This Woven Kingdom also has that plot as well.
Yes. I'm like, some of these claims are a little too general.
Yeah.
And then it does get to be a little bit more specific, where you run into the argument of half brothers who are princes.
Yeah.
And I tried to do some research to be like, oh, is this something that's happened before? From what I could tell, the Stormlight Archives by Brandon Sanderson has the same exact plotline too. And I was like, oh, I'm curious to know when that was published. Oh, that was published August of 2010.
Yeah.
So 5 years prior to Red Queen.
And it was actually published way before that, too. He republished it in 2010, I'm pretty sure.
Yes, because I think he said he, like, wrote it originally and then tabled it for 7 years. And
whatever it was. Anyways, yes.
I'm like, okay, so first things first, I don't think either Victoria Aveyard or Lauren Roberts can claim that their story is 100% original.
Yeah.
Like, they're both arguing.
Yeah. Well, and because you can also find branches of that, too. Like, maybe they're not half brothers, per se, but there's a lot of similarities. Like, I would say ACOTAR, you have two powerful leaders that are kind of like princes, then one ends up being the bad guy. Like, you're just like, that happens. That literally is very common in love triangle fantasy worlds.
Yes. And I 100% agree. So, a lot of it, I was like, people are being way too nitpicky. Like, she put, after a public event is witnessed by many people, poor girl from the slums is invited to then live in the castle. Which I'm like, is essentially kind of what happens in your book.
Yes.
Like, there's a public event and she goes to the castle and things like that.
And honestly, if I were to say that it was plagiarizing any book, I would say it's The Selection, because that's what happens in The Selection. She gets invited to live in the castle, and then she literally uses the country in The Selection is called Ilia, and that's the same exact name as the name of her city. Mm-hmm. But I saw a video from one of her press tour interview things, and she was like, guys, I didn't even know that was what The Selection city was called. And I was like, fair enough.
I 100% think that that's the case, because even in the process of writing my own book, I mentioned in our last podcast episode, I pulled my husband and my parents and told them my groundwork and things like that. And my parents would say oh, so exactly like this show from the early 80s or 90s. And I'm like, I didn't even know that was a show.
Listen, I was starting to write the bad guys and the bad creatures in my book are called the Stygen. Come to find out, the Stygen spiders are in Tower of Dawn, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Granted, love to hear that my brain is on the same wavelength as Sarah J. Maas, because then as I was researching, I was like, wow, why is my research and the things that I was plotting very similar to what Sarah J. Maas was? But I was like, that happens. I didn't even piece that together. I came up with the Stygen way before I read Tower of Dawn.
Came to mind and things. And
through research.
Happen. Yeah. And it does get a little bit more specific, where I see where people are coming from the other side, where it says one brother asks her to a ball, while the other brother, the one she stole from originally with the coins at the beginning, whisks her away for a dance lesson in the middle of the night. And then she joins a rebel organization while living in the castle. And then
and that stuff is
ball
rough.
Gets bombed, and then towards the end of the book, the main character is stuck in an arena fighting for her life, and that also gets bombed. But then they're like, oh, and then it's revealed that she's ordinary or whatever. And I'm like, I would also argue that most books have a character that's quote unquote ordinary or powerless or
that happens in a lot of books as well. That's also not a new plot point, but And this was where it was hard for me because then I started getting into that stuff and I was like, frick. I was like, that is very similar. And then, so I listened to Red Queen and I was like, oh. I was like, I see. But here's the thing is that I would say that it would be maybe plagiarism, but then you read Reckless and Reckless is nothing like Glass Sword.
And
nothing.
I also have an issue with it in the sense that she's been accused of plagiarizing every book under the sun. Like,
true. Poor girl.
She marketed it as like, this is part Hunger Games, part Red Queen, right? So like, she's also very self-aware that they are very similar. But also, I was scrolling through comments and videos, and they're like, oh, this is a plagiarism of Divergent, of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, of Throne of Glass, of Dance of Thieves, of Tangled. And I'm like, oh, because they're like, I guess I'll try and keep it as vague to avoid reckless spoilers, but there's like, this is not important. There's like a hair cutting scene. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And there's also like a water kind of near drowning scene.
Oh,
and they're like, this is I'm like, you guys are digging for like
this
any
poor
reason.
Girl, I kind of feel so bad because obviously, like, if you're the topic of conversation, like, people are gonna hate on you as well. Like, that's just what's gonna happen. But at the same time, like, I just think it's really funny because sometimes people are like, wow, this is so original, this is all so new, and this is so exciting. And then you have someone like Lauren Roberts comes out with a book and everyone is all like, no, this is terrible, she's copying everyone. But I'm like, guys, tropes are tropes.
Yeah, and like looking at some of them, for example, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, it's one of my favorite books of all time. It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
The similarity is there's trials, and they're like, the ending trial is a maze, and that's very similar. I'm like, I've literally read 3 books, like, this year that have a trial that's a maze.
Yeah. I
like,
don't understand, and I understand, like, we want to, like, I don't know. And I also think that people are going to have a really hard time because you're always going to get compared to the top writers. Like, people are always going to say that Sarah J. Maas is doing all these things and they're all so new and exciting. No, she's not. I'm sorry. But so many of the things that SJM is doing are tropes that have already existed and have already been done.
Yes.
It is all subjective.
I've also seen a lot of commentary of, like, Game of Thrones and Throne of Glass are very similar. The names are very similar. There's, like, literally the Wolf of the North and blah, blah, blah. Like, those are all...
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I agree. In overall kind of conclusion, am I saying Lauren Roberts' book is original? Under no circumstances is it original. It is pretty much as unoriginal as you can get.
Yes.
Do I think it's plagiarism? I don't know if I would go so far to say that. I have heard rumors of people saying there's like exact lines.
Yeah.
Which, if that's the case, I think that's too far.
Yeah.
Except, like, for example, when they're fighting and she says, like, don't make me ruin your pretty face. And he's like, oh, you think I'm pretty? If somebody were to say, oh, that's, like, copied from another book, I would say, I've read a variation of that same exact scene.
There was a line that I've read in multiple fantasy books that are, like, when one character is like, I want to kill you, and the other character's comeback is, yeah, then get in line. I have read that same line over and over again. You're going to tell me that that's plagiarizing?
Yeah, so I think...
Like, you know what I mean?
I think plagiarism accusations are very heavy.
Yeah.
And so you need to be careful when we throw those around. If somebody were to say, you know, I wrote a romance, or, like, I wrote a romantasy book, and the characters fall in love, and their thing is to whatever end, you would be like, okay, maybe that's, like, too far. That's or if somebody wrote a book and they had a line that was like, whatever and the girl to the stars who listen, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, there's some lines that are very notable.
Yes.
But there's a lot of things that are repetitive lines that are done in every single...
Yes.
Especially, I think, when you get into banter, I think it's really difficult to copy banter because all the banter's been done before.
No, I totally agree. And then this was the other thing that was funny, too, to me, was that then later Victoria Aviar made another video talking about plagiarism, and she made a good point, too, where she was like, someone says it, and I'm pretty sure she quoted C.S. Lewis or whatever his name is, and was like, basically, like, he said once, like, there's not any new stories, there's just new storytellers or something like that. Like, there's not new ideas, there's just new ways of telling those stories.
Yeah, and that's my favorite part of this whole situation is Victoria Aviar herself is an unbothered queen. She's like,
is so unbothered. Someone go look through her TikTok.
Yeah.
It makes me laugh so hard.
She literally, somebody commented and they're like, I'm an aspiring author. I'm so concerned about accusations of plagiarism because it feels like everything's been done before.
Yeah.
And she literally made a TikTok and said, correct, everything's been done before. Like, to a certain degree, you are going to be copying other things or be heavily inspired by other things. But the main variable is the writer. Like, if you have 5 writers in front of you and you give them all the same story with all the same framework, you're going to get 5 completely different stories.
Yes.
Based off of characters and everything like that. And she even went so far to say, oh, my most recent series that I've been writing, Realm Breaker.
Oh, yes.
Is so heavily inspired by the Lord of the Rings. Like, it's not even like kind of inspired by it's the Lord of the Rings.
Deeply inspired. Yes. And also, she kind of scares me. She's funny, but she also scares me because I made a video talking about like authors that I would love to see at a book conference. And she commented on my video and she goes, "You say my name great." She goes, "You say my name like graveyard, but without the G." And I was like, "Okay,
Graveyard.
I'm so sorry."
What, Victoria? No, that's what I've been saying.
Graveyard, but I said it wrong in my video. Or I was like Victoria however you say her last name, and all she says in my video is, "You say my name graveyard, but without the G," and I go, huh?
Iconic dry humor. I live for it.
I was like, you commented on my video. Oh my gosh.
But like, also in conclusion,
yeah, sorry.
If Victoria Aveyard's not bothered by it, why are we so bothered by it? She's 110% should have the most beef with it, and she seems to be like, you know,
who cares?
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. That's so freaking funny. Anyways, anything else on plagiarism? I feel like that was a very good overview. I hope you all have no more questions.
Yeah,
about what happened.
To be honest, I still don't know where I 100% lie in this situation because I think both sides of the argument are very valid. But if I had to say anything, I would say leave it to Victoria Aveyard to make that decision.
Okay. Okay. Also, as I was just speaking, I remembered another thing that happened a couple months ago. Did you ever see the drama of what happened at Readers Take Denver or at the book conference?
Yes and no. Like, you say that, and I know I saw stuff about it, but I don't know if I remember 100% what it was.
I was forgetting drama when I was trying to think of things to talk about, but from what I recall, new plot is that Readers Take Denver is a huge book conference in Denver, obviously.
Yes.
And a lot of people went, and it was massive, and a ton of people later posted about how miserable it was, that it was really poorly done. I can't remember what all of the controversy was, but I feel like that was part of it. Was like, they just was not very well done. The workers were terrible, and like, I don't remember. Maybe it was like overly packed. I don't really remember.
Yeah, maybe they oversold the tickets a bunch or something like that.
Dang it. But yeah, more of a story. There was drama with Readers Take Denver, and I was really sad that I wasn't going to any of these conferences because I really want to go to a book conference, like really, really bad. But then I saw all that stuff, and I was like, oh,
maybe not that one.
Maybe not that one. So, anyways, that was another plot. That was another drama thing.
I love that we're calling them plot points. Like,
I know. I keep saying that, and I keep forgetting.
I live for it. It's very on brand.
It's very on brand. Anyways, next thing. This is something that we both have experienced through posting. Is the drama behind AI art. Where do we even begin?
I don't even know where to begin with this because I guess I'll start with, I was relatively new to BookTok, right?
Yeah.
I started BookTok when we started this podcast this year, which was, and we haven't even been on for a full year. We've been on for like maybe 6 months.
Yeah, like not even.
Or something like that. You started a little bit before that, but like I was completely new to it. And so like I would see these fan arts. I'd be like, oh my gosh, that's so good. And then I would post it on our TikTok and be like, guys, look at this fan art. And people would come for me in the comments.
So mad.
And they're like, this is AI. Like, you can't do that. And like, for a long time, I feel like I couldn't even tell. I just like saw it on Pinterest or something. Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's really good.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, so basically it's become really popular. And I mean, it's always been a thing since I've been on BookTok, is that there are AI creators who create this artwork of book characters and specific scenes in books and things like that. And they use AI to do it. They are amazing. I'm sorry, but I'm just gonna put it out there. I don't know how the frick they do this. I think it's pretty amazing. The art is crazy.
I do think, to a certain degree, it has to be a talent of sorts because like you said, I don't know how they do it. And if I had to take my best guess, I'm thinking of like a chat GPT, like they input the scene and then they have to be like, no, change this person's hair to be this, change this, change that.
Yeah. And so honestly, go them. I really don't know how you do that. And there's one in particular that I know we've all seen their artwork. I think it's like Artwork Roki or whatever.
I've seen that in like Artwork by Casimir, I think too. It's like another one.
There's a couple that are like really, really big. And so we've posted about them before, and people come at us come at a lot of people because they're like, this is not art, it's ruining the art industry, and like these creators that are actually drawing it, like we can't compete with this AI art. Oh, and this even happened a couple months ago when Fairy Loot.
Oh, yes.
Fairy Loot is a huge publication, like they do like special editions of books, and it was announced that they were going to do a Throne of Glass release of special editions of books, which Throne of Glass special editions don't exist, just by the way.
Yeah, I have looked,
and they barely exist. There is one by acrylic paint.
Yes.
But anyways, so they announced they were going to do this, and they showed the artwork that was going to be inside the book. And a lot of people were like, that is terrible art, that looks so bad, that's not how the characters are supposed to look like at all, why do they look sick? Like, there was a bunch of hate on it, and I felt so bad. The artist that did the artwork basically was like, I was so excited, Fairy Loot commissioned me for this art, I can't compete with AI, I'm so done, I'm never drawing for ACOTAR, like SJM again.
Yes.
And I was like, this poor girl.
Well, I think part of the problem is like excluding like the actual artist side of thing, but like on the consumer side of thing is consumers prefer the AI art because more often than not, I would argue that they do a more accurate rendering of like what we're thinking in our head.
It's extremely detailed.
But obviously that's due to the fact that it's a computer, and like they said, you know, nobody's going to be able to draw as well as a computer. But like on the consumer side of things, I think if you want something to change, you got to convince everybody to change their opinion. And I don't think a lot of people care on the consumer side.
No. And the one thing that does get me, and this is where I do feel bad, is I've started to see a lot of AI artists selling AI art. And that's where I start to feel like it's a little bit weird to me because I'm like, hey, you, like, I don't know how long that took you, but there's no way that it took you as long as someone who would actually be, like, drawing or painting that. And so for you to be making money off of something that, like, you have to have a talent for, but like not really. Like I just like that's where it starts to get iffy for me, and that's when I start to be like,
And correct me if I'm wrong, because like we said, we don't know exactly how this AI art process happens.
No idea.
But what I understand is obviously everything once put on the internet is on the internet. So I'm assuming this AI artwork takes drawings that obviously real artists have posted on the internet and improve the drawings.
Yeah, that's
because people will comment and say, oh, this is exactly like so-and-so's artwork.
Yes.
So I wonder if it's just doing an improvement, and that, like, that's crazy because that's their original artwork and things like that.
Yeah, I feel that sucks.
Yeah, and then if they sell that too, it's like, obviously, once again, they can't compete with a computer.
Yeah.
But I think it would be a little bit different if it was maybe like I want to say the word agglomeration. Is that a word?
I don't know what
accumulation.
That is.
I don't know, of like a bunch of things from the internet.
Yeah.
But I know some of them are like so similar.
Oh, I forgot about that. That does happen. I did see that.
Because I posted a picture of like Dorian wearing a certain something that I'm not going to say for spoiler reasons, I guess. And like I saw it and I was like, this is the best art I've ever seen in my life. And then people were in the comments like, oh, this is actually AI. And this is from this person's art. And I felt really bad. Which, by the way, everybody in our comments who's super nice about it and it's like, hey, heads up, this is AI. I appreciate you. Because a lot of the times, I don't know unless it has that specific logo.
Or it has a watermark on it.
Yes.
And also, though, too, I feel like, again, like, if the AI is copying a real artist's art, like, I don't know that. Like, I don't know that it's copying. So, like, if it's copying someone, like, please tell me. Because I want to use the actual art, not the AI version of art. But, like, yeah. Like, but there's, like, I can't know that. I can't keep tabs on every single art piece out there about book characters. There's so much.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's thrown in our face all the time.
All the time.
And
so, yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, it's kind of interesting because, like, people in our comments I feel like, are very aware.
Yeah.
But, like, I'll see somebody repost the same artwork and go into the comments, and everybody's like, this is beautiful, I love this, and there's not a single comment in there. So I think on the consumer side of things, people are just oblivious, myself included. It's like, I don't know where this is coming from. I just saw a photo put in front of my face and I said, hey, that looks really nice.
Yeah, no, truly. Honestly, though, I'm so excited for people. If I ever publish my book and people make fan art, AI or not, I'm so excited to see what it looks like. Because
oh my gosh,
I'm like, someone take what's in my head and on paper and please put it into a character imagery.
I've thought of that so much because obviously for me, like, I find, I forgot what they're called, but it's not it's kind of like a variation of AI on Pinterest. I'll just look up like character inspiration, and I'll like find a picture and I'm like, this is what I'm picturing in my head, because then when I'm describing them, I can actually look and be like, what can I describe about them? I do it for
places too. There's a ton of AI art on Pinterest that I can actually like look of like renderings of like places that like are very similar to like what I was thinking in my head, and I'm like, perfect, I can use it.
I'm so curious of like, if you publish your book, if I publish my book and people do fan art of it, if it like my actual descriptions will make it come out to like what I'm thinking, because I have a very clear picture in my head, and I wonder if authors like the fan art is made, and it's like, that's not what I was thinking, but I guess we're gonna roll with it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure that happens all the time. Let's be honest. They're probably like, that's not what I was going for, but sure.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, AI art. This reminded me though of the tea that was Fairy Loot and the Throne of Glass series.
Yes.
Briefly, everyone freaked out because Throne of Glass was supposed to be doing these book releases of the Throne of Glass special editions. I was honestly really excited about them, and I thought they were really good. They were kind of like old academia looking books, special edition books, and I really liked them. And then they decided not to release them because everyone threw a fit.
I didn't realize they didn't release them, but I know
they didn't release them.
Was claiming, because this is Fairy Loot, right?
Yes.
They were very similar to the acrylic
the spray. So yeah, the sprayed edges were very similar to the acrylic.
I want to say acrylics, but I think
it's acrylics. Right. It's something like that. You guys don't know what we're talking about. Anyways, the sprayed edges of the artwork and stuff was very similar to the acrylic pick artwork that they do on their books, but theirs is like hand done, like very detail oriented, like, you know, small business. So it's like this big business ripping off the smaller business. Anyways, moral of the story, everyone threw a fit. It became a huge thing on TikTok, and they never released the books. They said that they are going to revise them, and they haven't announced them since. So there goes our Throne of Glass opportunity.
Honestly, this is so out of pocket, but I think they have it for Throne of Glass. I know that I'm pretty confident they have it for at least ACOTAR, but my favorite ones, special editions, I guess, if you can call them that, because it's just the dust jackets, and I think you may have them, is the Nerdy ink.
Oh, yeah, the Nerdy ink ones. They are very pretty.
I want them so freaking bad.
Dude, I should just give you mine, because I don't use them. They sit in the drawer.
You can't give them to me because they're so nice. Like, I want them so bad. Do you have Throne of Glass or do you have ACOTAR?
I have Throne of Glass. But I made my own dust jacket. This is hilarious. I made my own dust jackets of Throne of Glass.
I remember that.
And I love them. I love my custom. They're not perfect. But what was really funny was that I had the green ones. Then I got the Nerdy ink ones. So I put them on my books, and then my views went down in my videos. And I said, oh. So then I put my green ones back on, and then my views went back up. So I just leave my green ones on my
books. I love them. They're giving pirate.
They are. I do really like them. They are so pretty, but yes.
Oh my gosh, random side note, and this has literally nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I literally almost sob on a daily basis because Cover to Cover Book Box did special editions of the Windy City series.
Oh,
and they're sold out, and they will never be in my hands. And they also did a special edition of the Briar U series, and those are two of my favorite series of all time. I literally follow them and just like repost the things every single day and tell my husband, I'm like, babe, I don't think I'm gonna go to work today because I don't have these book special editions.
I'm just sad.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think I'm ever gonna get them. And he's like, you need to get over it. Like, you own the books of all of them.
One of the greatest blessings in my life was accidentally getting sent the Icebreaker and Wildfire special editions.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, and the Chestnut Springs Liz Tom, or why did I just say Liz Tom for? The Chestnut Springs Elsie Silver book signing special editions.
Oh, they're so pretty.
I literally almost booked like a flight that I was going to be there for like 5 seconds to go pick them up.
We should totally do it though. That'd be so fun.
I know. Anyway.
I remember we were looking at those. We were just in Costa Vida. We just were staring at them. We were just like in silence. We were like, I want these books so bad. How do I get them?
On like Medicari and like all that. I'm like, who's going and who's gonna sell them?
Yes.
Because I'll buy them from you.
I'm dead. Okay. Next plot point. Everything else that I have, I feel like is like relatively short, but who knows?
Yeah.
First off, this is just okay, maybe this is a longer thing, but I was just gonna say that BookTok is just honestly a walking drama fest because everyone complains and thinks that it's ruining literature.
And to that I say, I don't agree. Like, I
don't either.
BookTok is a very curated place for a specific type of reading. And if you're not the person that likes that type of reading, don't take BookTok recommendations. Because, like, the majority of BookTok recommendations are going to be maybe these slightly spicier, maybe not as well written all the time.
Yes.
For funs and kicks and giggles.
Yes.
Like, if you want, like, peak literature, I'm sorry,
it's not for
probably
you.
not on BookTok.
I mean, it does exist. Let me say, it does exist, and there's different sides of BookTok as well, I would say. But do you follow Daniel on BookTok?
Yes.
Curly hair.
Yes.
Hilarious. He made a video about this where he was like, guys, you guys are just getting things mixed up. You're mixing, BookTok mixes entertaining versus actually good literature. Like, I do it all the time where I'll review books and I'm like, I loved this. Does not mean that it was good literature. It just means that it was entertaining. But then I also have books that I will say, like, I'll be like, wow, this is actually like very well written book. And I am definitely like, I've done this where I don't differentiate between the two and I just review books and I'm like, oh, it's great. And people are like, this was terrible. And I'm like, well, it wasn't supposed to be good writing. It just was fun. So now I try to be more aware, like when I post reviews and stuff. But yes, I think that people are a little bit dramatic.
And there's obviously some crossover. Like, I'm somebody that would say, like, I think Sarah J. Maas's books, the majority of them are both really entertaining and really good writing.
Yes.
Like, or I think Six of Crows is really entertaining and really good writing. But, like, primarily a lot of the romance books that I read for entertainment purposes. Yeah. And I go, objectively not the best, but, like, did I eat it up? Yes.
I think romance in general, honestly, no offense everyone, but, like, I don't think I can really say that I've read a romance book that I was like, dang, that writing was the most beautiful thing I've ever read. Like,
especially like when smut is involved. Like, let's be honest, to have a really, really tasteful smut where you're like, wow, that's beautiful writing in a smut scene is like so hard.
You get to pick. You can either have a intimate scene like in Throne of Glass and it be beautiful, or you have ACOTAR and you can't have both.
Yeah. Like,
you can have ACOTAR Silver Flames or you can have Empire of Storms, but you can't have both.
And I think it's very valid to have a book that is very, like, beautifully written and then to have kind of a for fun smut scene in it. For, like, to alleviate you know, a little bit of tension. I don't know. Like, I don't...
But you gotta be a talented author to be able to do that.
Oh, yeah. And I, like, read books all the time. And this sounds so bad. But, like, I sometimes now, like, analyze smut scenes because I'm curious to, like, how the author's gonna tackle it.
Yeah, like,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, write it.
Especially as somebody who wants to write a book and is writing a book. I'm like, am I gonna need to, like, throw a smut scene in there? And, like, how would I want to approach it? Do I just, like, go for it? Or do I, like, reel it in? Yeah. Do I be super ambiguous?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I don't know. Honestly, though, here's the one thing I will say, though, is I feel like the publishing industry, especially in romance, is a little less is a little more lenient in the books that they publish than fantasy. Because I feel like fantasy is a lot harder to publish in, and they're a lot more, like, intense on the books that they choose to publish than romance. Romance... They just be putting anything on the shelf, I swear on my life.
Even with publication dates, like, you look at Anna Huang or Elsie Silver, or even, like, Elle Kennedy, they're pumping out, like, 2 books a year.
Yeah, 2 or 3, at least.
You know what I mean? Like, I swear King of Sloth just came out, and Striker's coming out in September. Yeah, like, they usually have, like,
overlapping. Like, they'll announce their second book before their first book has even come out yet. Like, they have overlapping books.
Elsie Silver... had announced Wild Eyes before Wild Love had come out.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
like, you're doing a second book of a series that's not even released yet?
But to be fair, we both have now experienced this because I have tried to write a romance book and a fantasy book, and you have tried to write a romance book and a fantasy book. Fantasy takes freaking long to do. Romance, so easy.
I've been outlining the same fantasy book for, like, months. Like, and I did a whole outline for a romance book in, like, 2 days.
No, I literally did a whole entire outline for a romance series, an entire series, in one night.
And that's not to say romance is worse than fantasy or anything like that. It's just a different style of writing.
So different.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And something I will say about romance too that I really enjoy, kind of going back on what we were saying about plagiarism.
Yes.
Is like romance does not take itself too seriously.
Nope.
Like I just read Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher, which came out, I don't know, maybe in June or something like that. And now I'm currently 90% of the way through All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. You cannot tell me they are not the same exact book. Like, both follow, like, a younger FMC who was a singer-songwriter who dated somebody that stole their songs, and now their life's in shambles, so they move back to their hometown where they meet a single dad and they become the music teacher for their sons, and then they fall in love by doing certain activities with the single dad, and then they find their words again, and then they're have I seen one accusation of plagiarism? No. They said not. The tropes are there. Tropes are tropes.
Half the time I feel like authors are plagiarizing themselves, because Elle Kennedy does this, like, she uses the same exact tropes in multiple of her books, and I'm like, that's the same exact book.
Or, like, we talk about this with Anna Huang. Like, you cannot convince me that the Twisted series and the King of Sin series are not the same series in different fonts.
They are.
Like, they're so identical.
The books are exactly the same too. That's what's funny to me. I'm like, this is literally the same exact thing.
But, like, people who read romance, they're like, it has these tropes. I know I like these tropes, so I'll read this book, and it's different characters, so it's a different feel, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I just think it's really funny.
In fantasy, like, I feel like people get, like, very obviously triggered when things get a little too similar.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, obviously there's a valid point to that, but I just think it's so funny that in romance people do not give a flying flip.
Yes.
They're like,
yeah, definitely not. Anyways, I think moral of the story, honestly, probably as BookTok creators, we could do a better job of, like, when we do review books, being like, this is a good quality book and this is a fun book.
Yeah.
And I think that we probably could do better at, like, differentiating between the two. But honestly, I think with people saying that it's, like, ruining literature, honestly, to me, I just think that it's escalating. You want to know how popular reading has become in the past year?
Oh, yeah. Because there was, like, a point in time where, I mean, I had a Barnes & Noble right by my house. It literally went out of business. And, like, the closest Barnes & Noble to me was, like, 45 minutes away because books were not a thing.
No. And now, this was another one of my points, was that Sarah J. Maas's books especially have become so popular. Like, it's happened all the time now where a bunch of, like, celebrities and stuff are posting about reading her books on TikTok. Like, I swear literally every other week there's, like, massive, like, or bigger celebrities that are posting about reading her books. And I'm like, what?
I'm currently watching Young Gravy and Jordan Fisher read the
Jordan Fisher. Jordan Fisher was the one that every single time his video pops up, I'm like, you are so weird, but I love watching your videos on this.
I know, and I'm seeing famous TikTokers do it. I saw like a couple Bachelor stars start reading it.
And I'm like, why is reading become like the cool thing to do? I don't understand. I'm loving it. I'm here for it, but it's interesting.
So I guess it's fair to say I think that you don't love BookTok and BookTok's recommendations, but I also don't think it's fair to say like it's ruining literature because I think in all honesty it's reviving
I think it is 110% reviving books and also giving opportunities to people that wouldn't have had it otherwise. Like, I've been able to reach out to a lot of people like about publishing my book because of BookTok, and like Lauren Roberts started because of BookTok.
Alex Astor.
Yeah, Alex Astor started because of BookTok. Like, a lot of authors have started because of TikTok.
And like Lauren Roberts, correct me if I'm wrong, but like she published.
Yeah,
and
she
then she got
it.
re-picked up.
Yes.
To republish.
Yeah.
And she probably wouldn't have had that opportunity if she didn't have a following on TikTok.
Yeah, no, definitely not. So anyways, I just think that BookTok is making reading thrive. And
reading's cool again.
It's cool again. We're the cool girls around here if you didn't know.
Yeah. I feel like I'm so ahead of the curve, which is so not true because I like got back into reading I think in like 2016.
Yeah.
Or something. So maybe like a little bit before it got super popular on TikTok, but like I'm not that.
Like, I got on BookTok like right at the perfect time because I started posting about SJM like right as it started to get hype, and that's how I went viral, and I was like, wow, I timed that epically because it was last year, and I was like, wow, that was good timing on my part.
And if you guys really like SJM, you should go back and rewatch all of our SJM videos. We've covered every single SJM book.
We have. You should. I forgot about that. Okay. Oh, your turn. What else
oh my gosh, I didn't have anything else. But I know I came in with like 2 things, and Abby was like, I have a list of 23 things. I was like,
okay,
oh
but
my
I
God.
swear half these things are a lot more shorter. Okay, first off, It Ends With Us is becoming a movie. It actually comes out so soon.
Wait, why do I feel like, though, the opinion of this movie has changed significantly? Because people were not having it
No,
when
not
it
happy.
was made.
And honestly, I have not read the book. Have you?
Yes, I read the first book. I didn't read the second book.
Okay, so I have not read It Ends With Us. But honestly, and I was like, I am not reading Colleen Hoover. That's not my vibe. But then I watched the trailer and I was like, maybe I'll give it a go. Maybe I'll read it. Because the trailer seemed intriguing enough that I was like, okay, maybe I'll give it a go. But yeah, that's coming out, and I feel like that's important to the TikTok community.
I was saying, like, people, like, hated the casting
So
of
much.
Blake Lively, and I'm just gonna say Raphael from Jane the Virgin. I forgot what his actor's name is, but they hated it because they had aged up the characters so much, and then Colleen Hoover had put out a statement saying, like, no, like, I should have had the characters this age when I originally wrote the book.
Yeah.
I accidentally wrote them way too young.
Yeah.
But people were still not happy, and they weren't happy with the costumes. And then I feel like the trailer came out, and now I'm only hearing good things of people being like, oh, I'm so excited to see this movie.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I felt so bad though. If you guys don't know who Mercedes is on TikTok, you should. I felt so bad because there was the whole like plane issue in the airport, the software system issue.
IT
so
crash.
the flights like were all jacked up. She was supposed to go to LA to go to the premiere for It Ends With Us, and she couldn't because her flight got canceled. And I felt so bad for her. I was so sad for her.
Wait, that's terrible. Speaking of that, my husband is currently flying home from a work trip right now, but on his way there, his flight got delayed, and then he got rerouted to South Dakota, and then they spilled jet fuel on the runway, and then his pilot's hours ran out, and then they couldn't find somebody to fly the plane, and then he got to Minneapolis, and then he missed his connecting flight, and long story short, he ended up driving.
Where?
To Des Moines, Iowa. And now he's flying back from Des Moines, and his flight got delayed, and he's like, I think I'm going to miss my connecting flight home. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
That is awful. But yeah, so that movie is coming out. We should definitely do some TikToks about that coming out, because that would be fun.
Oh my gosh, we should go see it.
Yeah, we definitely need to go see it.
Wait, who wants to come? Everybody's invited.
Yeah, wait, we should do something like that because that would be fun.
Yeah, post about it and just be like, okay, we're going at this time at this place. But
I did make
tickets.
I did make a TikTok that was like, where are all my Utah book girlies at? Because I was like, I see none. And then I had like over 200 people comment being like, I want to do something. And I was like, where did you come from?
I commented on that on my personal account, and I was like, I'm right here. And I saw so many people were commenting, and I'm like, where are you guys?
Yeah, I was like, where? So maybe we should do that. I'll just be like, we're going to go see it at this time for whoever wants to join.
Oh my gosh, yes, I would be so down.
Wait,
I love new friends.
Okay, love that for us. Okay, another thing. Crescent City 3 came out this year, and everyone hated it.
Oh, that was like such an abrupt thing. I'm not gonna argue. Well, I'm not gonna say I hated it. I definitely did not hate it, but like,
hate was a strong word, but for the purpose of this, it was funny.
I just put SJM on like such a high pedestal. Like, I almost assume every single book I'm gonna read by her is like 4 stars plus, like easily. Yes. And for me, it was like a 3-star or something like that. So I think it just didn't meet expectations, but it wasn't necessarily bad.
I loved it the first time I read it. The second time I read it, I didn't like it. So, anyways, that was a whole controversy, and people were not happy. This other thing happened a couple weeks ago. Was the Wade Wilson is a convicted felon who killed 2 women. Yet everyone on TikTok was like, "Oh, he's kind of hot though," and comparing him to the main guy in The Ritual.
Oh my gosh, which Abby has never read The Ritual. I have read The Ritual. Riot Archer, yes, a snack, but like the felon.
Okay, and again, I love that I'm mentioning her so much. Mercedes made a video about this, and she was like, y'all, you want to know why reading The Ritual and obsessing over him is okay? Because it is fake. It is not real. It is pretend. It doesn't exist.
Yes.
And you're like, what? You guys are all disgusting.
I know. Speaking as a avid dark romance reader, because I love dark romance, there is a fine line you need to draw where you read this and you're like, this would not be okay in real life. But since it is fiction, our imagination, whatever, run wild, do whatever the heck you want. But like, there's a lot of stuff in there where like they fall in love with murderers and kidnappers, and they kidnap the girl, and then they get Stockholm, and then they fall, and you're like, this, like, take yourself out of it. This is not okay. Like,
this is not okay. That little fantasy you have brewing in your mind, you need to just like put that back in a box and lock up the key and just leave that in your head. Don't bring it into the real world.
Yeah, but if you want to read it, knock yourself the heck out. I do. I love it. I enjoy it. But like, yes, keep that firm line of like, fiction needs to stay fiction. Abby told me this right before we started the podcast, and I wish I had my reaction of it because I was floored.
I should have waited to tell you because that's really funny.
I was like, oh my gosh.
Anyways, yeah, that was a odd thing I saw. I was like, no. What's always really funny though is I feel like I see drama a lot, but I don't actually see the original drama thing. I always just see creators posting about it being like, you all are wrong or this is terrible, and I'm like, what drama? And then I have to go on like a hour-long research project to try to figure it out.
I'm like going through all the comments and clicking all the linked videos to try and circulate back to the original post.
The best thing TikTok has ever done is having the like search bar on like the bottom. That's like it like will be like viewed like recently viewed things like or like will like related like search, and I'm like fantastic. And then I can click on it. I'm like that's greatest thing. Anyway, so yeah, that happened. Oh, and then Sarah J. Maas was spotted having coffee with Margot Robbie,
which. Okay, this is, I think I know exactly what this is, but a lot of people were speculating. They're like, oh my gosh, Margot Robbie is going to be Selena. And I'm like, okay, how old's Selena? 18?
Okay, well, okay. I said, I thought she was going to be Faye Rod. I was like, oh my gosh, what if? And then everyone in the comments was like, that is terrible idea. What the frick is wrong with you? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry.
I feel like looks-wise, she would fall more Selena than she would Feyre. But granted, looks can be changed really easily. But yeah, Selena in this case, she's like what, 18, 19 in the books. And Margot Robbie, I don't know how old she is, but she's got to be in like her 30s, early 30s, something like that. But I think it was more of like a production meeting because she was a producer on Barbie.
Yes, and I think that that's what it was.
Yes.
Potential. Honestly, I have fear for the day that Sarah J. Maas's books become movies or shows or whatever, because you're gonna have a hard time pleasing everyone, including myself. But you never know.
Is Throne of Glass purchased to like become a?
No.
Okay.
It was Akatar.
I did hear about Akatar, and I think it was Hulu originally, and then it
got
dropped.
Yeah.
Which honestly probably good. I'm not saying this is the case with Akatar or Throne of Glass, but I'm just saying sometimes it's the case where things are better left in literature.
Yeah,
and they don't
leave
need to
it
be made
to my
movies.
mind and the AI art, okay?
Yeah.
I don't need anything more than that.
But like as an author, I see it's like obviously a very why do I want to use the word gratuitous?
What in the what is this vocabulary today?
I don't know. It's a very lucrative venture to be like, I want to make my my book a film or a TV series, and like I can see why they would nefer say no.
Yeah, like I would definitely want to do it. Like I definitely like going into writing a book. I'm like, oh, if it becomes a movie, that would be so sick. Like I feel like that's always in the back of your mind. I feel like, I mean, maybe I can't speak for every author because I'm not actually an author yet, but I feel like that has to be a goal for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah. And, like, speaking of that, why don't we make more romance books, movies? Because I think the hard part about fantasy is because you use so much of your imagination, it's really hard to convert that to a film.
Yes.
Because you have to use a lot of CGI, and, a lot of it just makes more sense in your head.
Yeah.
But I'm like, why aren't we taking all these really popular romance books? Like, they don't require any CGI or anything.
But I feel like they do, but they choose literally the most, like, obscured romance books to do movies on. And I'm like, where did that come from? Why? I can give you like 10 off the top of my head that would be way more better than any of these movies. Like The Idea of You, I had never heard of in my life.
I never heard of that either.
Never in my life. And to be fair, these movies were great. All the Boys I've Loved Before, had never heard of it. Loved the movies though. Did a great job. The Summer I Turned Pretty, had never heard of it. It was fine.
Yeah.
But like I'm like these were not like, oh, and My Lady Jane also was one. I said, since when was that a book?
Or it's like the selection got picked up and just like never got made.
Yeah,
ever.
Excuse me, why not? Because that book should be a movie so fast. You want to know how easy it would be to do that movie?
And I know it's like would you consider it fantasy, low fantasy? I don't know what you want to call it. Whatever.
Yeah,
dystopian, whatever.
Dystopian.
But like it would not be that difficult of a movie to make.
No.
So like, and I think it has a lot of, well, okay, I think it has a lot of fans. That was the end of that thought. But to a new thought.
Oh, okay.
They're making The Uglies, a movie with Joey King.
Oh, why?
Which I thought was so funny because I mentioned this to my sisters, and my sisters and I grew up reading The Uglies.
Yes.
Like, we own so many copies of those books. We've all read them, but I think they're like relatively niche. Like they're not a super popular series.
I remember them being popular in high school, but I never read them.
Well, especially because reading is super trending now, and
Yeah.
at the time when they came out, it wasn't like a super trendy thing to do. And I'm like, why on earth did you pick the Uglies? Like out of all the romance series you could pick, you chose the Uglies?
Well, and then also I'm like, and I don't like Joey King either. Why?
Except like, I will say, I think she has the perfect like aesthetic to play the main character.
I've never read the book, so I don't know.
Pretty much, it's giving very Powerless vibes, because they're like these people that they call the Uglies, and then pretty much when you turn a certain age, it's like 16 or 18, I can't remember, you have to get a bunch of plastic surgery, and then you get turned like pretty. And not saying Joey King is ugly, I think she has very like interesting look.
Yeah, that's
where
fair.
Like it would make sense to be like, oh, she has this interesting look, and we think she needs to conform to what society's idea of like super traditionally pretty is.
Yeah.
And so I think she could be really good, but like she needs to give not Kissing Booth.
No Kissing Booth. No.
Which I know she's done a lot of other stuff, and I'm sure she's been great in it. I just haven't seen it. Like my main interaction with Joey King is the
Kissing Booth, which is just so tragic.
Yeah.
That's okay. Same. So, it's fine. But yeah, that's so funny. Anyways, I think that they need to, Hollywood just needs to contact us. We'll let them in on what books should actually be made into movies, and we'll make you millions.
Yes, you also need like beta watchers. We'll come in, we'll watch it, and be like, yeah, that's no good.
Yeah. Also, where is my sign up to be a beta reader as well for Beepool? Because you don't know how many books I could probably save in my talent of being able to pick out books. Because now after doing this podcast, I realized that we have a very niche talent of destroying books.
Well, we're just like, and this is probably like a talent and a curse at the same time, because we probably don't get to enjoy books as much as other people at times, because we're like super analytical.
Yes.
Because I feel like literally ever since we both started writing, it's just like this downhill plummet of like overanalyzing everything that they do.
Everything.
Yes.
But I could really help you out in your books, so you can always call us up.
Yes, we would love to beta read. Like that would be so much fun.
That would be so fun.
Yeah.
Love. Okay, and then sorry, this is like, I would say this, but this is so brief because it's like BookTok adjacent, where the Bridgerton series, the third season, came out this year. It came out in 2 parts, which was already traumatic enough. Never do that. Why they did that, don't know. It was about Colin and Penelope. Guess how many minutes they were actually in the season for?
Colin and Penelope, like together?
Nope, just them as a whole.
Oh, I don't know. What is it?
30 minutes.
No.
Yeah, I'm not lying. 30 minutes Colin and Penelope were shown on screen, and everything else was just everyone else, and it was their season. They had a new showrunner this season, and it was tragic.
Yeah.
And then and also, have you read the books?
No.
Okay, I haven't read the books either, but can I spoil it for you?
Yes.
Okay, great. So Francesca's book.
Oh, I did know this, yes.
Yeah, so Francesca gets married to John, and we see them get married in this season. And her actual, book is about how John dies. She loses a baby, and then she ends up falling in love with John's cousin, Michael, and they go through this, whole, trauma build experience together. And then she falls in love, and then she's able to have a kid. Anyways, more of the story. In this book, or in this season, we are introduced to Michael, but it's not Michael. It was Michelle or Michaela or whatever it was.
Yes.
A female, which is, again, it's fine. But you changed her entire character and her entire love interest, and you changed it into a girl. Why? Now she won't be able to have children.
I will say it's a really difficult situation, because I think a lot of older series, which I don't know if Bridgerton is how old it is, but a lot of older series don't lean super heavily into diversity with LGBTQ audience. Just because
I don't know how old it is.
It was relatively more taboo back in even a couple years ago.
Yeah, not that long ago.
And I think it's great to introduce those characters. I think it's great when books have those characters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it is really difficult in this situation, because her whole character arc is surrounded by her having a child.
Yes.
Which obviously can't be the case anymore.
Yeah.
So
that was what was weird.
Yeah, it disassembles her entire character arc. I think if you can do it without doing that, it's a great opportunity to, take some of these older stories and reinvent them and make them a little bit more modern.
Yeah.
And have a way more diverse cast. But yes, I did see a lot of controversy of people who are very big Bridgerton fans were not
In
super
the
happy
books,
about it.
yeah. And
So-
honestly, but like as someone that appreciates a good character arc, I didn't enjoy that part. But who knows what's gonna happen? Oh,
Mhm.
but and then the last part of the Bridgerton thing was that they just barely announced, like yesterday, that the new season is going to be about Benedict. So I give them one last chance to pull themselves together because I love
I
Benedict.
love Benedict.
So they get, and also my friend who has read the book said that Benedict was her favorite book.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I feel like that's a pretty like most people say that's their favorite book. So I'm giving them one last chance to prove that they can make a good series.
Uh-huh.
They get one more chance.
I will say Benedict is like one of my favorites for no reason to him, but to the fact that I read The Prison Healer recently and I thought Calden was Benedict to a T.
Wait, that's so
which
true.
is like the platonic best friend in the series. So like Benedict got it adjacently that I just love him now because I picture Calden.
He's just like such a golden retriever and I
Yeah,
love him.
I know.
Okay, that was all my drama. That's all the tea to be spilled.
Oh my gosh, that was so much tea in one episode.
Guys, my throat hurts from talking.
I know, we've been going on for a while now.
Okay, that was enough from us now. We'll stop yapping now. But I hope you guys enjoyed that long episode. You're now all caught up on the 7 months of drama that has happened on the internet. Hope you enjoyed.
Yes.
Make sure that you follow us on all of our social media. It's just LA Reads Podcast. If you want to do a collaboration or anything, let us know. Anything else?
Not that I can think of, but yes, heavy on the collaboration. I think we would love to get some people on our podcast, get some more opinions in here, get some more yappers.
Get some more yappers. So if you're a book talker or author or anything like that, email us at lareadspod
at gmail.com.
There we go. That was hard. Okay. Love you all, and we will see you all next week. Bye.
Ooh, that was